coming this morning. I am here to talk to you all about the scourge of recreation centers. So, I'm reading the last line of defense here, the new fight for American liberty, page 240. Let's look at more unintended consequences of the government rec center. Even if a neighborhood needed and could support a recreation center, our private businessman and his potential investors would have to worry about the local government swooping into the neighborhood after their private center was built, simply because the government determined that the neighborhood could use another rec center. The government's decision wouldn't usually be based on responsible market studies, as the private businessman's was, but on the mere desires of bureaucrats and politicians who weren't spending their own money and didn't have to consider the risk of the project failing. The government rec center might even undermine our private sector one because, again, the government doesn't need to be as concerned about losing money on the venture. After all, it could just raise taxes when it needed to cover the losses that inevitably occur. In parentheses, very few ventures run by the government ever turn a profit or are even self-sustaining, like colleges. Because government's ability to crowd, that was an ad-lib, by the way. Because government's ability to crowd out private activity not only reduces economic efficiencies and the power of the free market, but also the opportunities of entrepreneurs and the choices of consumers. Citizens' liberty once again finds itself reduced to a smaller and smaller sliver of the liberty pie.
Liberty pie.
Right.
Liberty pie.
Folks, Ken Cuccinelli just doesn't understand the point of government. If there were not two recreation centers in the 44th district, most of my constituents, they would have to, first of all, they would never see a pool. And secondly, if they did swim, they'd have to do it with the snakeheads in the Potomac. The point of recreation centers is to provide opportunities for everybody to enjoy certain amenities. The entire concept that most ventures don't net even is a fundamental misunderstanding of government. As I pointed out, colleges, universities balance their budgets every day. There are billions and billions of bonds issued in this state, revenue bonds issued in this state that are funded by college dormitories, student centers, dining halls, parking decks, that New York bond investors will not fund if it can't be shown they're gonna net positive revenue, that they're not going to cover the bond. There are all kinds of government ventures that cover their cover their losses. And I would ask the Attorney General to come visit two of the rec centers in my district and ask some of my constituents whether they think that whether they think the skating rink or the pool in the 44th district that's provided by Fairfax County is part of the out of control big government. I think he'll find some interesting answers if he goes and talks to some real people. But from my point of view, the idea that public recreation centers and skating rinks are somehow a threat to the liberty pie is it's radical and it's extremist, and it's incredible that somebody would even hold that kind of a view in today's world.